Hello, hello. It's time for another video. All right, so we've talked about the nitrogen cycle, cycling your fish, growing your bacteria, all that. If you didn't see the video, go watch it. I'll be referencing it probably. This video is going to be talking about undergravel filters. They're not as popular anymore. They were one of the first type of filters to be used in the aquarium industry, in the aquarium hobby, and since then they've lost the popularity because more high-tech filters, more efficient filters have come along. But it's a good place to start because they're still out there. You can still use them. There's still some benefits to them. And you know, it's better than nothing. So what is an undergravel filter? It's abbreviated UGF sometimes. So if you're reading an article or something, you see UGF, undergravel filter. Undergravel filter is a filtration system that primarily depends on the biological filtration. There's three types of filtration: biological, mechanical, and chemical. Biological filtration is growing your bacteria beds, your bacteria colonies. They're going to eat your ammonia, eat your nitrites, create your nitrate, breaking down all the bad ammonia and nitrite. So poison your fish. That's the biological filtration. So for biological filtration, if you don't remember from the last video that we did on it, you have to have water, oxygen in the form of air, and surface area. Don't let the oxygen air thing catch you up too much, because we don't see it, but there's air in your water. There's air, fine little particles of air in your water. I mean, your fish are breathing in the water. So there's oxygen in your water. If there's not oxygen in your water to give oxygen to your bacteria, you got dead fish anyways. So that's, don't let that hang you up too much of like, my filter's underwater, I don't have any air. Don't worry about that part of it. Think of, if you got water movement, you got air, you got oxygen. You got water because you got the fish in the tank. Let's hope you got the fish in the tank with water in it. If not, we got bigger problems. And surface area. So what's your surface area on an undergravel filter? All right, let's draw it. I'm in a drawing mood. All right. So undergravel filters. You see that? That's your fish tank. Undergravel filters will have a plate at the bottom. On top of the plate, you'll put a thick layer of gravel. The gravel is your surface area. Usually in the corners, you'll have some uplift tubes, which will be just pipes that run down to this plate. And there's open space under the plate to let water flow. It may have channels or grooves or something so that the water flows in certain ways. The plate, let's draw it over here. The plate, this is us looking from the top. It will have some sort of slits or holes or something in the plate. They'll be covered up by gravel. So in your uplift tubes, the most common form is you have an air stone. Later on, they started using power heads. So you could have a power head in there or an air stone in there. Either way, the idea is to get water to move up your uplift tubes. Well, if water's coming up the uplift tube, it's coming from under the plate. Well, where's the water under your plate coming from? From your tank. It's going down through the gravel, up the uplift tube, and back out into your tank. So the water's passing through all your gravel. So you got water moving. So you have your water moving. There's your oxygen. You got your surface area. Hey, that's the 3 things you need for bacteria. You're growing your bacteria. So the underground filter is biological filtration. It's also mechanical. It's not that great of mechanical, but as your water gets sucked down through the gravel, through the plate, it will suck nastiness, fish poop, old fish food and stuff into your gravel and under your plate. So it will take some of it out of the water. It's not that great at it. One of the reasons it isn't used as much anymore, but it still is biological and mechanical filtration. So I said there was 3 types of filtration: biological, mechanical, and chemical. We don't have chemical. How do you fix that? Later on, they started adding, up here where you get your air stones, they started adding little cases up here and putting carbon in it. So now as the water comes up and it goes out through the carbon, chemical filtration. Well, you said water's going up that. I didn't use the power head sucking it up through there, sucking the water up. I got an air stone. All right. When air bubbles move in your tank, it pulls water with it. So you get an air stone. It's putting bubbles off up this way. Horrible drawing, I'm sorry. And as the bubbles move up, they're traveling pretty fast through the water. They're sucking water behind them. So as air goes up the tube, water's being pulled behind it. Don't believe me? Lower your water down below your tube. Not only does it blow bubbles up there, but water comes up out of your tube. It's something, it's called the Venturi Effect, I think. It's Venturi, it's what I always refer to it as. It's the same concept as if you're standing on the street and a big truck drives by real fast, you feel it pull you. Or if you're driving down the road, a truck flies by you, something bigger than you flies by, it will pull you. You'll feel that pull from it. Same thing here. Air bubble, which is bigger than a little water molecule, flies by. All the little water molecules get pulled behind it, gets sucked out. This is used in a few other things in the fish hobby, and we can talk about those later. Use it to our benefit. So this is the undergravel filter. How it works, benefits to it is it's cheap to operate. It doesn't have really any moving parts. Usually they're really cheap to buy. Doesn't use a whole lot of electricity. Frying baby fish and stuff won't get sucked up in it, usually, unless you got like crazy power heads or something. Downsides, it isn't as efficient as some of the other filtration systems. Alright, if you get an undergravel filter and you're going to gravel vac your tank when you do water changes and clean it, don't gravel vac the whole all your gravel at the same time, because you'll suck all your bacteria up and dump it out because that's where your bacteria is, in the gravel. So when you gravel vac, just gravel vac, a quarter of it. Next time you do a water change, don't gravel vac that section. Gravel vac the next quarter. Third time you do a water change, gravel vac the third quarter. And that way you don't ever wipe out your entire bacteria colony. Have to start cycling all over again. Another downside to it is all that waste that collects under the plate. It just collects there. So if you ever do break down your tank or have to take your plates out and all that, it's there. It'll get stirred up in your water and cause some problems. Don't let that scare you though, because most of the time you do under gravel filters, you leave them there. The downside to under gravel filters is live plants. It don't work so good. Your plants get roots down inside there, and I've had crayfish that would dig down in the gravel, bust through the plate, and make them home under the plate. Not so good. The uplift tubes. If the uplift tubes are pulling water at different rates, so say you throw a power head on one, because you just got one, because they're expensive when you don't have much money. They're not that expensive, but maybe they are to you. You've got one power head and one bubbler. The power head's pulling more than the bubbler is. So now, the least resistant way for the water to go isn't through the gravel anymore. It's through that uplift tube. Pulls water down through the uplift tube with a bubbler, under the plate, and back up your power head tube. It didn't go through the gravel. You didn't get any filtration. You're just circulating under the plate with all that nastiness. Yeah. So if you're going to use power heads on all your uplift tubes. Make sure your power heads are all the same gallons per hour, the same power. Or if you're using air stones, make sure they're coming off the same pump, or the pumps are pumping out the same. The downside to the underground filter. But it's an option. It's the first one we're going to talk about. We'll talk about others in other videos. There's a million different ways to filter. But remember, all you have to have for your biological filtration is water, oxygen, air, and surface area. That's your biological filtration. That'll get your bacteria growing, keep your fish alive. If you got more questions about underground filters or filtration in general, leave a comment. Shoot me a message. And I'm open to suggestions for other things that you want to see on my channel. I got a lot of stuff planned, and it'll be an adventure, a journey that we will take together. Until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you then.